All right, peace and much love. Zin Uru here. Welcome to the latest installment of Message from the Minista. This week's message from the Minista is the path of righteousness. The path of righteousness. Oh, what a great topic today. We want to talk about righteousness and what it means to live and walk a righteous path. And what we'll find is that really a righteous path is walking a disciplined path and doing what is right, not only for ourselves, but for others and for our environment, for our God, for our ancestors, for our peace, for our prosperity, for our health, love, awareness, and wealth. It's making the right decisions. It's making the right choices. And I'll tell you something different than maybe some other people out there teaching, spiritual teachings and stuff, is that, in hip hop, our path of righteousness is a lot of times paved with unrighteous behavior. Wisdom is learned from making a lot of mistakes. We take those mistakes and then we transmute mistakes, so-called mistakes, into wisdom. And so this isn't a lesson about feeling guilty because, as Minister G. Simone has pointed out, the acrinologist G. Simone, guilty, giving up inspirational living towards yourself. That's when we feel guilty, when we give up inspirational living towards ourselves, towards yourself. And it's very interesting because the right thing to do in our life is to keep our inspirational living going, keep the inspiration going, no matter what the circumstances may appear to be on the outside world, or maybe even how they may feel on the inside. We want to keep walking that righteous path of inspirational living, and therefore we don't give into the guilt. Now, there will be times where the universe, where God will say to us, that behavior that you displayed was incorrect. And we'll feel a little tinge of guilt. We'll be like, oh, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. I was being really rude at that moment. I acted out of anger, or I acted out of desperation, or I acted out of character there. And, when we feel down. But I'll tell you that when God brings that so-called feelings of guilt, those so-called feelings that are really, when they're understood and felt the right way, it's actually just God correcting us, God showing us a better way. And that's where wisdom is gained. We say, oh, I lived like this and it brought me nothing but pain and suffering. I lived like this and I just didn't feel right. But I lived like this and it brought me joy and peace and prosperity, and I felt good inside. I felt good about what I had done, or felt good about my actions. And that's the righteous path that God is asking us and correcting us to be upon. I'll tell you something too. Like we live in a world that does not reward the righteous, but the world, not the earth, but the world rewards a lot of unrighteous behavior. And I'm not going to read from the gospel, the one part this week. I want to read Perform Discipline this week, because this week is more instructional about how to walk a righteous path. But we will realize, and as the gospel of hip hop teaches, is that those who are born for righteous living will continually fail at unrighteousness. I'll say that again. Those who are born for righteousness will continually fail at unrighteousness. And vice versa, those who are born for unrighteousness will continue to fail at righteousness. Those who are born for unrighteousness will fail at righteousness. And we only have to look at the government of the United States of America to see that those who were born to live unrighteously fail at righteousness. Because all they do is succeed in their unrighteous living. They succeed in their extortion. They succeed in their manipulation. They succeed in their lies. That's why they lie and manipulate the general public, either on television or in person. But they will say the most beautiful lies. They'll tell all about these wonderful things they're going to do with your money and with your time and with your support. All these wonderful promises that they do not intend to keep. But they make the righteous promise that they do not keep, so they fail at the righteousness that they say they're going to do. And then they excel at the unrighteousness. They excel at the extortion. They excel at the lying. They excel at the cheating. They excel at the violence. But they fail at the righteousness that gets them elected. They speak a righteous game. Oh, when I'm in office, we're going to figure out the education. We're not going to tax people so hard. We're going to help your family. We're going to help your income. We're going to help this. We're going to do all of this for you because we care about you. And so they have to lie and say, we're going to do all these righteous things, and then they don't do them. And, honestly, that's the trait of people without a soul. That's just the trait. Unrighteous people, those who are born for unrighteous living, who will fail at righteousness, those are the ones who are born without a soul, or if we want to back away from the controversy, if, that their soul fire, their soul light is dimmed so low that it may never be turned back on. I can't judge like that. That's for God to decide. But I will say this to my nobility, that if you treat somebody who displays no soul and you expect them and you hold them to the standards of soul, it will be you who is disappointed and you who is hurt. Why? Because you're looking at an unrighteous person, expecting them to live righteously. And it doesn't work like that any more than it works for you when you say, well, look at this. Look at this. It seems to me that in this line of work that I'm in, or it seems to me in this world, that I keep living this righteous life. I keep doing what is right every time the opportunity presents itself. Even when it's hard, I do what is right, and I see other people doing what is wrong, excelling. Why don't I try what is wrong and see if I can excel too? And how does that work out? How does that ever work out for anybody? You'll know you're called of God when you fail at unrighteous living. When you look at the world and say, you know what? That's what gets them in head and work. Stabbing people behind the back, lying, cheating, stealing. That gets them ahead. Let me try that. And then you get caught and you get in trouble and you get penalized. You're like, but they're doing the same thing. No, you. So it's a line of the spiritually aware and attuned hip hop specifically to walk through this life of what is a lot of unrighteousness that you will experience in life in all arenas, okay? You will walk through a lot of unrighteous situations because why? Because it is for you to be the righteous one. It is for you to do simply what is the right thing to do in any situation, in any environment you may find yourselves in. So I want to take this moment across all time and space. All of you are here in this place. We have a packed house. This is the most I've seen. It's like an auditorium, just keeps growing and growing. There's so many ancestors here, and so many of you from the future looking at this screen right here. 10 years, 20 years, 100 years in the future, long after Zin has left this body, maybe, looking at this video, are here in this room right now because we know in spirit there is no time and there is no space. So here in spirit, we are here in this space, in this place, right here, right now, in this what we call the everlasting now. And I want to welcome you all here, and I want to thank you with a warm heart. And I want to welcome you all with a warm heart and thank you for being here. Each week that I get to do these, this is my purpose fulfilled. This is part of my purpose fulfilled. And I don't like the energy. I feel it coming. I record these on a Friday night usually. And I feel this energy coming when a Thursday night I start, going, oh man, I feel I got to do something. I got something I got to do. I get up on Friday and I feel this sense of, not urgency, but I feel this like pushing forward on Fridays as my mind is getting ready. And I look at the notes I've taken throughout the week and I think about the conversations I've had and like, what will the message from the minister this week be? And, come up with the inspiration. And somebody asked me this week, they say, Zin, can you speak about character? And I said, word, yeah, I actually have one called Character is King. But I wanted to go a little deeper into character, and I thought, well, character can cover a lot of things. Everybody's got character. It's like, what kind of character do they have? And then another way of character is, people have upstanding character when we talk about character. And so, the saying is character is king. Why? Because no matter what's happening to you, no matter what is happening to you, people lying about you, people manipulating you, people throwing shade at you, people dissing you, people dissing your work, people dissing your purpose, people dissing your art, people talking about you behind your back, people plotting against you, which happens. The only thing that really walks through that is the character of righteousness. So people can believe the lies that somebody else said about you, but when you walk in that righteous character, those other people, their lies will be exposed, and the lies they told to other people, the truth about you and your nature and your character will be revealed. I know this because I've walked through this countless times in my life. I've had people diss me, try and hurt me, try and get me fired, try and make me look bad in front of people I respect and care about. However, I knew this going in. I knew this from a very young age. I actually learned it from Bruce Lee in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do about character and about walking in an upright character. Is that when people say those things about you, and other people may believe them, they may believe the false information they heard. There's going to be a part of you that's going to want revenge and going to want to start and give it back to them and really lower yourself to their level. Lower yourself to the level of a liar, of a deceiver, of a manipulator, of a narcissist. However, if you remain in an upright character, eventually everyone will see your character shine through. Your nobility, your grace, your love, your truth, your freedom, your respect, your righteousness will shine through the darkness of the lies that others may say about you. And this is where the tempting moment comes in. This is why I wanted to read from Perform Discipline this week. Because there are these moments, okay? There are these moments when somebody might really be doing you dirty, okay? Somebody might just be really doing you dirty. And there is these moments sometimes where the universe gives you this opportunity to do them dirty back. And you'd be like, oh, yo, man, if I just did this right now, it will fuck up all their plans. If I just said that. But what happens is, if you join in on that unrighteousness that the universe is presenting to you as an opportunity, hey, will you follow the voice of temptation or will you follow the call of discipline at that moment? And depending on where you're at, depending on your experience, you might do that other person dirty, but then you suffer the consequences of doing that person dirty. And it never really comes out. It doesn't balance itself out. Somebody does you dirty, you do them dirty, it doesn't balance it out. Somebody does you dirty, you clean yourself off. That's the balance right there. Oh, you did me dirty? Oh, you put mud on my name? Well, you know what? Check out how clean I am. I just took my spiritual shower. Look how clean I am. I'm going to walk in this righteous character of cleanliness. I'm going to walk in this, and even though I'm having this thrown at me, I'm not going to throw back the same negative energy that's been thrown at me. As a matter of fact, my character is king, and I walk in a path of righteousness, and I know that I will fail at unrighteousness because I've experienced it before. Therefore, even though this is a tough situation, even though somebody I care about believes a lie about me now, I'm going to still walk on this righteous path. And some people may not even be lying about you. Some people will just distort the truth or tell a story about you to make you seem less than, or that you're not doing enough, or that you're not good enough, or that you're not worthy enough. And then they'll isolate people from you based upon their jealousy, their envious attitude towards you. It happens all the time, especially when you are a light, when you are the light of your world and you are shining your light. It's just the weird way that this place works. And remember, as we talked about last week, when that happens, that adversity is there to strengthen your character. It is how it works. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's the wind blowing the sapling, the little baby tree getting blown in the wind. But that wind, that adversity is strengthening the tree. So this adversity that we hit when other people are dissing us while we're on the rise and they're trying to crabs in the bucket pull us down, that's the perfect opportunity to say, yo, right now, this is the universe. This is how the universe is strengthening me right now. This adversity that I'm looking at, this person talking trash about me, this person slandering my name, and now you can't defend your name. Yeah, somebody asks you and says, yo, I heard you did this, and you're like, I didn't do that. They're lying. Why would they say that? And you might have to confront people sometimes. But sometimes it will be very subversive. It'll be very subversive. It'll be under the radar. Little whispers in people's ears people will do. They'll whisper little nut things about you in other people's ears, and they'll try to, downplay your accomplishments and try to downgrade you in front of other people. Well, if you did that every time, if you had to confront everybody who did that to you, you'd be wasting a lot of time. Sometimes it requires confrontation. Other times it requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires focus. Because remember, what can happen when people are doing that is they're trying to knock you off the focus of your perfection, trying to knock you off the focus of your purpose in life. Now, sometimes they might be doing it because they're just afraid of the whole thing. They're afraid of their own purpose. Sometimes they're doing it because they're jealous. Sometimes they're doing it because they're ignorant. Sometimes they're just haters. The world's full of haters. What is it? What is it going to be? Are you going to let it beat you down and tear you down and take you out because you've had all these experiences with the haters? You're just be like, oh, all those haters, I'm never going to try again. I'm just going to sit here in my room and I'm just going to sit over here and just kind of keep to myself. I'm not going to shine my light. Some people that happens, the hate of the world, all the disses and all of the stakes in the heart. I think about every time I've had a stake put in my heart in this life, somebody just tries to put a spear right in the heart or a sword right in the gut to stop me from achieving my purpose. And all it did was strengthen me. Even the worst of it strengthened me. Why? Because character is king, and this is where the physics comes in. The cream always rises to the top, they say. Truth is always revealed. Why? Because the lie by its very nature does not exist. It's just an illusion. And give it enough time, the illusion will reveal itself. And those who lie about you, and those who manipulated the truth about you, and those who made deceptive words about you, and those who misled people about you, and those who dissed you and threw shade at you, all of that, they will be exposed. And you will continue walking in your path of righteousness, unwavering by the ignorance of others. And that's what it is. It's ignorance. And by ignorance, I mean they're ignoring your abilities because of jealousy, because of envy, because they can't do what you can do. And when you have a warm heart and you can shine the light and you are a caring person, other people with cold hearts will be jealous of that. They won't like it. Others simply don't have the abilities that you have. Others just simply have the ability to inspire others. It's just not that easy for them. And for me, I've always been able to inspire others since I've been little, man. Since I've been little, it's probably a gift from many lifetimes of learning it. And I've made mistakes. I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes in my life. Lord knows I made mistakes, but I've turned them into wisdom. And I continue to do so. If I do make a mistake, I turn it into wisdom. However, I've been able to inspire a lot of people in life, and that's made other people jealous. They say, they don't say it like that. Oh, he's inspirational. I'm jealous of his inspiration. But because they cannot inspire other people to their greatness, because real inspiration, who cares about, I don't care what people, like the message from the minister, like this. This is so you aspire to your own greatness, so you rise to your own light, so you rise to the God force within you, so you know your purpose, so you feel that love, you feel that goodness inside of you, and help spread it and share it to others. This is how we grow. This is how we preserve hip-hop. The feeling is what we're preserving, and you better know that. It's the feeling. It's not, that doesn't matter about my new album coming out. It doesn't matter about how many lectures I give or what I do. It's about the feeling that's inspired if you hear me speak or you know about me. And I don't want nobody to walk away feeling I'm judging anybody. I'm just telling you how it is. I mean, I'm shocked. And I'm sure everybody else has realized this too. Most people watching this have realized on some level. It's like almost ridiculous that when you do what is right, when you do the right thing, the criticism, the shade, all of that will be thrown your way. You take care of your parents. People are going to question why you're doing that. You help out a sick relative. You're doing the right thing. I'm taking care of my dad right now. I've actually had people criticize me for taking care of my dad. It blew my mind. Judging me for that. It blew my mind. I'm like, what? All right, well, hold on here. I'm doing the right thing. This dude raised me. This dude went to work 40 plus hours a week to make sure I had food on the table, and me and my brother had a roof over our heads. Did that for 19 years until I moved out of my home. 19 years. The least I could do was take care of him for a few years. The least I can do. But somebody else is going to judge me for doing what's right? Whoa, you got to ask what's the character of somebody who judges you for doing what is right. And it happens all the time. Went out on my purpose. Met the teacher, said, I'm part of this ministry. I am the temple of hip hop. I am hip hop. My purpose is to preserve and further develop hip hop. Oh man, and I knew it was right. I knew it was righteous. I knew it in my soul. But oh boy, did the haters and doubters come out of everywhere, every nook and cranny of my life. Old friends, new friends, relatives, this, the one, that, strangers, people I didn't know, All of these people come forward, young people, old people, fat people, skinny people, men, women, children. No, not children, but came forward and were like, oh, that's not the right thing. Let's diss somebody. Let's throw shade at them. So my point being is when you go forward and you're living a righteous life, you'll know you're on the right path when people are talking bad about you, when people are dissing you, when people are throwing shade at you, when people are judging you for your righteousness. What does that say about their character? Because at first you're going to go, oh, maybe they don't understand. Maybe they don't see. Am I doing the right thing? I don't know. Maybe I should, because the world's teaching us to be more selfish. The world wants me to, put myself first in front of everybody. It doesn't matter who I step on. The world doesn't care who you step on. The world's built off people stepping on the backs of other people, trampling them under the feet, stealing their ideas, biting their ideas, take. It's called colonization. And you might find yourself like, oh, they're judging me. Oh, they said I'm doing the wrong thing. Am I doing the wrong thing? No, you're walking a path of righteousness. You have a righteous character. What does that say about their character when they're calling right wrong? I forget the verse in the Bible, but it says, in those days they will call evil good and they will call good evil. Whew. And we are at that space right here and now in the world. In the world. You look at mainstream media, everything that is evil they call good, and everything that is good they call evil. Everything that they say is right is wrong. Everything that they say is wrong is right. But that's not a judgment on your character when you walk the path of righteousness. That's not a judgment on our character. Our character is one of righteousness. Our character is one of caring and truth and light and love and peace and prosperity and health, love, awareness, and wealth. When you're doing the right thing, that's your character. So somebody, when you're doing the right thing and they're dissing you, they're throwing shade at you, what does that say about their character? Does that mean that they have an unrighteous character because they cannot see what is right? They do not know the difference between right and wrong? Maybe. But really, it's of little consequence what other people are saying. How do you feel about yourself when you go to sleep? How do you feel about yourself and your actions when you do the right thing? How do you feel about yourself when you do the right thing? When you walk a righteous path, how do you feel? I know I feel great. I know I feel a warm heart. I know I feel a loving vibrational frequency that emanates from my body, from my water body out into my environment and all those around me. And sometimes you stumble, sometimes you fall, and you pick yourself up. Get yourself up. You've been knocked down. Get yourself up. And this is where the discipline comes in. And this is why today I wanted to read from discipline, because perform discipline in the gospel of hip hop, the third overstanding, the divine performance. I want to talk about discipline because as all of this is coming at you in life, as all of this is happening and you're walking that righteous path and the unrighteous are yelling obscenities at you, it takes a lot of discipline to know when to speak and when to listen. It takes a lot of discipline to know when to not get caught into their traps, not get stuck in their stickiness and their gooiness and their ugliness. And walk with a clean spirit, walk with a clean heart, walk in forgiveness. Forgiveness is always there. Forgive those. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. You feel me? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And I mean that. Heavenly Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What did Bob Marley say? I'll never forget no way they crucified Jesus Christ. Like, imagine that. The righteousness of Jesus Christ, and they hung him on a cross to die. They hung him on the cross to die. Living a righteous life. Living the most righteous life. Hanging him on the cross to die. The very Son of God hung on the cross to die. Now look at your life. What is your cross? What is it that you bear? What is the burden that you bear? Walking a righteous life. Let's bring in the acronologist G. Simone again. Cross, constant reminder of self-sacrifice. The constant reminder of self-sacrifice, the cross. See, this is the self-sacrifice that we make. We're walking this righteous life, but it's not easy. It's not easy to do what's right, especially when everybody else wants to do wrong. It's not easy. It's not easy to walk a disciplined life when, you say, I'm focused on my purpose. My purpose is an MC. And your friends are like over here, and they're like, yo, we're going out drinking tonight. You want to come? And you're like, no, I can't do that. I have to work on my rhymes tonight. I can't party with y'all. Sorry. Now, they're not living an unrighteous life. I'm not saying that what they're doing is unrighteous, but for you, it would be unrighteous. Because it's not in your alignment with your purpose. They haven't looked at their purpose yet. They're not judged by that. They're not judging themselves by that. But you are. You're looking at yourself saying, yo, I'm walking this purpose, and I've got a lot of distractions. I've got a lot of people calling me and want me to go out here and do this and follow this and get distracted by this, that, and the other. And sometimes it happens. You might go and do that. You'll find yourself off your path. Get back on the path. Get back on the path. Because why? The path of righteousness is the only path that you can walk. Why? Because you were only born to walk one path, the path of righteousness. Let others who were born to walk the unrighteous path, let them walk the unrighteous path and watch them. Or don't even watch them at all. Just be focused on what you are, who you're becoming, and what you're becoming. I was thinking this week too. Back when I was in jiu-jitsu, our sensei, he had a saying up on the wall, and he said, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. That's very interesting because other people, while they're holding you down, they're going to point out what they perceive as your limitations, then they may be what you believe are your limitations too. Oh, you're too short to play basketball. Oh, you weren't born in the right city to rap. You're not as gifted as so-and-so. Oh, you don't have a natural this or that. See, and if you believe them, if you say, oh, you're right, you know what, I would rap, but I'm kind of too old to start rapping. I'm kind of too old to start rapping. And, I don't have a lot of natural skill. See, you start arguing for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. But if you place no limitations on your purpose, you place no limitations on what it is you can achieve, that will be yours too. You argue for your limitlessness, sure enough, it will be yours as well. But others are going to try and limit you through their speech, through their behavior, trying to judge you. And they can do it. They're going to do it. As a matter of fact, it's going to happen. Guaranteed, 100% of the time, it's going to happen. People are going to misjudge you. It happens all the time. But you don't have to join in on their limited view, on their limited understanding, on their immaturity, of their ignorance. No, you can walk in your righteousness. You can walk in the righteousness of God, the righteousness that God has provided for you. Let's look at righteousness right now. Let's look at the word righteous. Pop it up here on the screen. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a very long lesson tonight. Doesn't feel very long. We got about 5 pages to read in the Gospel of Hip Hop, but doesn't feel like a super long lesson tonight. We'll see how it goes. It's pretty straightforward what we're talking about here. I think a lot of us have an idea of what it means to live a righteous life and do what's right. Why? Because I believe and I know God inherently has a spirit in us called the righteous spirit of God that lets us know when something is right for us or something is wrong for us. So look at this. It's a very short definition here. Righteous, morally upright, without guilt or sin. Morally upright. That means you're walking in your morality. You're doing the moral thing. You're doing the decent thing. You're doing what is right. Without guilt. What is the guilt? Giving up inspirational living towards yourself, as we talked about earlier. Or sin. Another, in the Gospel of Hip Hop, we call sin a selfish, inconsiderate need. It's just stepping over the line. That's what sin is. It's stepping over the line. It's crossing somebody's boundaries. It's a selfish, inconsiderate need that can hurt yourself and other people or God. That's what a sin is. But when you walk a righteous life, you're morally upright, without guilt or sin. And imagine that, living a life without guilt or sin. Because remember, a mistake is not a sin. Not all mistakes are sin, and not all sin is mistakes. Sometimes sin is very deliberate and ugly. So get the idea out of your head that if you make a mistake, that it's a sin. I see that a lot, especially in Western culture, that every mistake is somehow a sin. No, we're made to make mistakes. We make mistakes. And I believe that this world really punishes certain mistakes of people because of the immaturity of the world. Righteous, definition number 2, in accordance with virtue or morality. In accordance with virtue or morality. The point being is that real virtue, we should look up real virtue next week, as a matter of fact. That's a beautiful word, virtue. Definition number 3, morally justifiable. Righteous anger. When Jesus turned the tables over in the temple, turned the tables, hip-hop reference, right? Get on them turntables. Righteous people considered as a group. And Middle English, righteous, alteration of writwise, from the Old English writwiz. Right plus wise. Righteousness means right plus wise. So when we walk a righteous life, it's because we have gained the wisdom necessary through our mistakes or learning from our mistakes or learning from the mistakes of others. We walk in that wisdom. We do what is right. I would even go as far to say that is where wisdom becomes overstanding, is in righteousness. Why? Because we've gained the wisdom, but some people gain wisdom and they don't put that wisdom to use. It's when we gain the wisdom and we put it to use, which is right action, that all of a sudden, through our right action, we're performing overstanding. So overstanding is a very righteous way to walk. Because it's not just wisdom, it's not just to be wise, it's doing what is right with the wisdom. So we walk through this life and we're given, this is why I say the path of the righteous. It's funny too, because I was thinking, just on a side note, Samuel L. Jackson had that quote in the movie Pulp Fiction, the path of the righteous is, and it's funny because Quentin Tarantino wrote that, even though he's saying it's from the Bible. If you read the actual Bible verse he's quoting, what he's quoting is something that Quentin Tarantino added to it. It's actually pretty dope. With Samuel Jackson's whole speech, I don't have it in front of me, or I would read it. It just kind of hit me, the inspiration right now. But yeah, the path of the righteous, right? And so we're going to walk this path of the righteous. But there are other paths, is why it's called the path of the righteous, because there are other paths you can go down. You can go down the path of doubt. You can go down the path of fear. You can go down the path of worry. You can go down the path of stupidity. You can go down all these other paths, but there's only one path of righteousness. There's only one righteous path, which is the true path, which is the freedom path. And we know inherently the difference between right and wrong. No matter what the world tries to convince us of right and wrong, we know that homelessness is wrong. We know that starvation is wrong. We know it. The victims are not wrong. It's the state of affairs that's wrong. A child going hungry? Yeah, that's wrong. Always, 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 in every case, a child going hungry is a failure of society, and it is wrong. So there's all kinds of things where they want to tell you that, the government's great at this. Oh, murder is wrong, and they're right. The murder is wrong. But then the government goes and murders people all over the world, and somehow it's supposed to be right? No, government. You're doing wrong. And we will call it wrong. We will call good, good, and we will call evil, evil. We know the difference between right and wrong, and murder is wrong. We don't even need a 10 Commandment to know that murder is wrong. Murder is wrong. Murdering somebody is wrong. Raping somebody is wrong. It's wrong to do. We don't need laws to tell us it's wrong. It's wrong. And this is why laws don't really work. Punishment, it works as a deterrent, but it's really the hearts of people that has to change. It's the soul that has to be awoken to get real change. And if we walk around assigning a soul to people who live unrighteously, and we try to hold them up to those standards, it's a fallacy of thinking. This is where disappointment and hurt feelings come in. What does Maya Angelou say? When somebody reveals to you who they are, believe them the first time. When somebody shows you who they are, I'm paraphrasing. I'll put her actual quote up here. Great quote. But it's basically, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. When somebody shows you that they're a thief and a liar and that's who they are, believe it. Now, time can go along and some people change. Some people grow. There's maturity there. I knew a friend growing up. He was a violent dude. As he got older, he started becoming nonviolent. He started going to anger management classes and working on himself and, changing the way and getting healed because he was abused as a kid and, went through the therapy or he went through the healing process of that. So he could change. But when he showed me he was a violent person, I had to believe it. Why? Because I have kids and I have friends and I don't want to bring somebody violent who's going to snap and maybe punch somebody else for a misunderstanding or because he can't hold his anger in, So you got to be careful when dangerous people show you who they are. And these politicians are dangerous. They're dangerous. Like the decisions they make on who gets to live and die and eat and starve, that's dangerous. And we as hip-hoppers, as we grow into those roles and as we start building our city, we've got to be mindful of that. We can't bring the ways of the world into the ways of God. It doesn't work. The ways of the world is unrighteousness. The ways of God is righteous. And so when we stop looking to the unrighteous to fulfill our needs, when we stop looking to the unrighteous to become righteous and fix everything that the unrighteous is doing, no, then we empower ourselves to do what the righteous are supposed to be doing. And we walk in that righteousness of what the righteous are supposed to be doing. And then we build what the righteous ones of us are supposed to build. What is right? It's just what's right. It's that easy. It's right to build a school where children learn to think, where children are safe. That's right. Building a school where children live in fear and children are learning disgusting, filthy things and learning lies, that's wrong. Public school is wrong. Now, there's some righteous people in public school system. There's some righteous kids going to public school. But the system as a whole is wrong. It's an unrighteous system. It's not right. Why? Because they're just churning out more and more debt slaves. That's it. And psychopaths and sociopaths now, and narcissists now. But the mainstream media, same thing. They excel at unrighteousness. Why? Because that's what they are. That's what the mainstream media is, unrighteous. So it excels at unrighteousness. And what are we going to do? Complain about it? Be sad about it? Spend our whole lives just mad about it, shaking our fists at the unrighteousness? No. We have to walk in our righteousness. We have to perform action. We have to perform righteous action and walk forward in our righteousness. My nobility, never be afraid or ashamed to do what is right. Don't let nobody dissuade you from doing what is right. Too many times, people know what is right, and then they listen to all the chitter-chatter around them, and then they are compelled and they are talked into doing something that is wrong. And they do what is wrong, and they say, I should have listened the first time. I knew it was wrong, but I did it anyway. I knew the right thing to do, and I didn't do it. I did the wrong thing because everybody told me to do it, and I knew better. Don't be like that. Learn those mistakes. We've all done it. Learn from it. Move forward. And know that the spirit of righteousness is a spirit. Ask for it to come in. Ask for it to be revealed. Ask to know it. Ask to be right. Let me walk in my righteousness today, God. God, may I know your righteous ways. God, may I walk in your righteousness today, God. Because it's going to get tested regardless. Regardless. And a lot when you walk the spiritual path. Why? Because you're the light of the world. You're supposed to do what's right. You're supposed to be the example of what's right in your world. Sometimes it's just through your actions. Sometimes it's through your words. Sometimes it's through a whole host of things. But do what is right, because the world wants you to do what is wrong. And the world's trying to say, just keep doing what's wrong. Just keep doing what's wrong. Just keep doing what's wrong. And this is where we have just complete social debauchery happening. And this is why all the institutions have failed. That's why every institution in the United States of America has failed, every one of them. Why? Because they're living unrighteously. That's it. It's simple. It's physics. Not even judging. Just saying, look at the results. The results speak for themselves. It's like if somebody ain't take care of their body, they ain't treating their body right. The results speak for themselves. You can physically see when somebody doesn't take care of their body. You can physically see that person does not take care of their body. You can physically see it. They'll tell you, oh, I take care of myself. And you can know you're not. I can see you're not taking care of yourself. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. And you can see that same thing on the spiritual body. Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing this. No, I can see by your very actions that you're living an unrighteous life. And I'm not judging you. I'm just saying I can't join you in your unrighteousness. You can join me in righteousness here because I don't have a monopoly on righteousness. This is God's space. This is God's path. This is God's righteousness. You can join in with God's righteousness, or you can keep walking your unrighteous path. I just can't join you on your unrighteous path. As simple as that. And it's okay to be right in a world that's wrong, okay? It's okay. It actually enhances you, empowers you, gives you a new sight, helps you help others find their path back to righteousness. I think about the righteous people I've known in my life who got me back on the path of righteousness in my darkest days or in my doubts or my fears. Be like, yo, you're putting yourself down too much. Get back over here, back on the path of righteousness, and God will send somebody into your life to do that, or God will do that for you, through you, as you, with you. So don't be ashamed of walking a righteous path, even though other people want you to feel ashamed for doing what is right. Why? Because they're doing what's wrong. They feel shame about who they are. That's what the narcissist walks around. These narcissistic people walk around feeling shame and guilt about who they are, and they want you to feel as shameful and guilty as they are. No. I'm going to walk a righteous path. I'm going to do what's right, and I'm not going to join you in your illusion and your projection. I've decided not to. I've decided I'm going to stay on the righteous path and do what is right. Even though you're trying to convince me that what I'm doing is wrong, I will remain doing what is right. And because character is king, because I walk in this righteous character, when the smoke clears, my light will still shine. And your lie and your deception will be exposed. That's a warning. I'll put this up here on the screen. Let's read from the Gospel of Hip Hop, Perform Discipline. And, this is in the third overstanding, the divine performance. And, of course, the Gospel of Hip Hop is written by the teacher, presented by KRS-One, the Temple of Hip Hop. Came out in 2009. Took 14 plus years to write. Longer than that, really. Countless thousands of hours and dollars were spent creating this book that we didn't have. And, I was a witness to watching teacher write this book. As a matter of fact, just to let people know, I am a recognized intellectual and spiritual contributor to the Gospel of Hip Hop. I was there while it was being written. Some of my ideas are in this book. That's why I take this book very seriously. That's why I read this book. That's why I teach from this book. And you can go to page 156 to the fourth divine performance, perform discipline. I'm starting a little early on the reading because I have some commentary on this. I have some commentary I want to make on this. Perform discipline. Every day we are faced with opportunities to perform discipline, self-control. And that key right there, that's the self-control. That's the righteousness right there. Having self-control. When other people are treating you wrong, you don't lower yourself to their standards. You don't lower yourself to their frequency and their vibration and their low-level attack. No, rise above. Every day we are faced. Every day. See this? Every day. Not every other day. Not sometimes. Not once a month. Every day we are faced with opportunities to perform discipline, self-control. The attuned hip-hop uses moments of temptation to practice restraint, moments of fear to practice faith, and moments of anger and anxiety to practice patience and inner calmness. These are divine performances. In all actions, use moderation. Temptation, fear, anger, etc. can be used as tests that strengthen your mind and body. Seek balance. Do not overindulge, for this act leads to suffering. Control yourself. Self-control is your only friend, while temptation is your only enemy. Never forget this. Look at this. Self-control is your only friend, while temptation is your only enemy. And what is self-control? Discipline. Discipline is your only friend, while temptation is your only enemy. Never forget this. It's not a person who's your enemy. It's the temptation of them wanting to bring you down to their low level. But it's only the temptation that they're presenting that's the enemy, not them. See it for what it is, from a higher level. And never forget this. A hip-hop's spiritual strength is not measured by what can be resisted in the flesh. It is measured by that which is resisted in the mind. This is key. This is the key to the metaphysics of this. It's not about what you can resist in the flesh. It's measured by that which is resisted in the mind. And that temptation, remember, action starts in the mind first. So somebody is tempting you to act in a way, or a situation is tempting you to act in a way that is against your righteousness, that is against your purpose, that is against you. Change the thinking, and you won't even perform the action. In order to change or modify your behavior, you must first change or modify the picture you hold of yourself in your mind. What is your perception of yourself? What do you mean to you? How valuable are you to you? How serious do you take yourself? On the inside, what do you look like to you? Do you say often, ain't nobody perfect? If this is how you see yourself, imperfect, then you shall never be even close to perfect. Your affirmation is final. The world shall have its way with you. Temptations of all sorts attack unperfected people constantly. Such people actually weaken themselves by affirming and believing that they are imperfect. It's like saying to the world, come and get me. Such an affirmation leads nowhere. However, if you even reach for perfection in your own imperfect life, such an act will indeed protect you from the world and its temptations. See this? Reach for your perfection, and it will protect you. Perfection is protection. That was the name of one of these lessons. The message is from the Minista. It will protect you from the world and its temptations. Work on your perfection. Seek your perfection. Know your perfection. Inherit your perfection. For in the material world, it is not perfection that is needed to protect you from temptation. It is the actual desire for perfection that is an indestructible shield and sword against the world and its agents of temptation. Ooh, I like that right there. The agents of temptation. Ooh, that's what they're called, the unrighteous. They're the agents of temptation. All these politicians, agents of temptation. All these media talking heads, agents of temptation. Most of these celebrities, agents of temptation. Never give up. Keep trying. Seek truth. The truth is that temptation is always temporary. All temptations are spiritual tests. Therefore, this is so important. You can remind yourself every day. Every day. This is so brilliant. This one sentence right here will change a person's life. Therefore, when you are tempted, it is very important to be still and not say or do anything. Indeed, the temptation shall pass. Try to remember that temptation is always temporary. But if you give in to it all the time, its unpleasant after effects can last a long time, even a lifetime. In addition, resisting temptation strengthens one's faith. It is like lifting spiritual weights or exercising. Resisting temptation strengthens one's spiritual vitality. However, the question here is, why should I resist temptation? And the answer, because satisfying the call of temptation, as opposed to the call of purpose, leads to guilt, which can weaken your faith. See how that works? See how that works, the physics of it? Giving into temptation leads to guilt, and guilt weakens one's faith. Therefore, and this is where the mastery comes in. This is where the spiritual training comes in. This is where you come in, my nobility. Look at this right here. This is where this is the real discipline of this. Therefore, we must take advantage of temptation. We cannot allow temptation to take advantage of us. When you know in your heart that you live righteously and your mind is focused only upon the fulfillment of your divine purpose, you expect the favor of God. And it is this expectancy that is at the center of one's faith and courage. Look at that. That's the center. When we walk a righteous life and we're focused on the fulfillment of our divine purpose, we expect the favor of God. And that expectancy is the center of our faith and courage. But when you know in your heart that you are guilty of actions that you perceive as spiritually weak, evil, or immoral, you do not expect the favor of God. You hide from the presence of God. And in this expectancy, expecting not to receive the favor of God, that is at the center of your doubts and fears. It is your own guilt that diminishes your faith and thus your ability to achieve your divine purpose. It is your own guilt that diminishes your faith and thus your ability to achieve your divine purpose. Ultimately, we judge and then weaken ourselves through guilt caused by our submission to temptation and other weaknesses. Oh, you got to be hearing this, my nobility. This is empowering. Self-control and virtuous living strengthens your faith in God's favor upon you, which in turn enhances your ability to achieve your purpose and even perform miracles in your life and in the lives of others. Self-control makes you certain of your trustworthiness before God. And it is this trustworthiness that empowers your faith to achieve your divine purpose and perform miracles. Spiritual strength is also measured by one's patience and endurance. Remember, endurance is insurance, and patience, that's the third dimension, time, space, and patience. If you've been following Message from the Minister long enough, I hope you're seeing the depth that these words can really create when overstood and defined in these ways. Spiritual strength is also measured by one's patience. Time, space, and patience. Patience being the third dimension. Patience being the governor. Patience, we need patience in our lives. And endurance. Endurance is insurance. Your endurance guarantees that you will succeed. Your endurance guarantees that you will be victorious. Your endurance is what it takes to walk a righteous path. For when you know in your heart that you live a righteous life and that God's favor is upon you, those things that you do not have, those people that you do not see, and those places that you do not go are all for your own good. For one of the keys to lasting discipline is when one becomes serious about actually acknowledging the real presence of God. For when you know that God is with you, watching you, listening to you, etc., you need not try to be disciplined. You are automatically disciplined by the presence of God in your midst. Undisciplined people can be said to simply not believe in the presence of God or their own spiritual abilities. They ignore their God and their own access to their own God force. Truth is always with them, but they ignore it. Love is always with them. Peace, wealth, knowledge, healing, etc. are always available to us, but we simply ignore them because we really don't believe that we deserve these gifts. We know to ourselves that we are imperfect because of the temptations that we have fallen to, and with such knowledge, we judge and limit ourselves. See, when you know this truth about what's been happening, you turn the light around, you turn it all around, and you become empowered. This is where discipline is so much of your empowerment. So much of our empowerment is found in the performance of discipline. Discipline over the desires of the body and mind come when you truly acknowledge the existence and presence of God right next to you. Know this, a true awareness of God causes discipline to automatically happen to you. One does not have to be actually disciplined to keep one's hand off of a hot stove. It is not that you need to restrain yourself from touching the hot stove. It is more the fact that you do not want to burn your hand. In this example, discipline is not only a matter of awareness, it is also a matter of taking care of yourself. It is a matter of self-respect. Again, seek the truth of God's actual presence, and discipline is sure to follow. For the attuned hip-hopper, discipline has more to do with realizing truth and having respect for oneself than the practice of restraint. This whole divine performance is a disciplinary training exercise designed to produce a hip-hop character behavior that prepares one for leadership and victory over the obstacles of the streets. Therefore, we must remember to use moments of anxiety to perform patience and calm. Use moments of depression to perform joy. Commit to yourself. Bring order to yourself by recognizing and truly respecting only the existence and value of God in your life. Make the conscious decision to value your God. Stop burning your hands upon the hot stoves of the world's temptations. This is spiritual strength. This is the divine performance. Start your discipline practice small by resisting your favorite cake, as an example. Try not to overeat. Speak less. Turn off or unplug the television. Cease listening to the radio. Go on to resist argument and gossip. Begin repeating an affirmation or prayer regularly. You might want to attend places of prayer. Practice fasting from junk foods, recreational drugs, intoxicating drinks, lustful desires, unproductive conversations, and even the careless spending of money. In these examples, the achievement of discipline is a matter of spiritual self-respect, which leads to physical self-control. Look at that. Spiritual self-respect leads to physical self-control. Spiritual self-respect leads to physical self-control. What a brilliant sight. Now may be the time to truly care for yourself and most of all, value yourself. These lead to discipline. The teacher practices withdrawing his senses from the happenings of the material world. With this performance, the teacher escapes the inconsistent and sometimes dangerous events of the world. But the teacher is mindful not to become too distant from those whom he is teaching. Balance is the key. If you have proven your discipline and self-governance, you can indulge in worldly temptations at times. The practice of discipline is not to abstain from the happenings of the physical world. It is to be strong enough to stop and start such activities at will. The teacher is simply free from addiction. And this part right here is one of my favorites right here. This is so dope right here. In fact, when it is pleasurable to abstain from pleasure, one can be called teacher. When one looks forward to moments of self-restraint, one can be called teacher. The teacher is unattached and mentally independent. The teacher is not lured nor tempted towards pleasure. The teacher freely and willingly chooses pleasure. The world and its temptations do not move the teacher. As Henry Frederic Emile has pointed out, the man who has no refuge in himself, who lives, so to speak, in his front rooms, in the outer whirlwind of things and opinions, is not properly a personality at all. He floats with the current who does not guide himself according to higher principles, who has no ideal, no convictions. Such a man is a mere article of the world's furniture, a thing moved instead of a living and moving being, an echo, not a voice. The man who has no inner life is a slave of his surroundings. As a barometer is the obedient servant of the air at rest, and the weathercock, the humble servant of the air in motion. Perform discipline. Perform discipline, my nobility. The man who has no inner dialogue. Do you know that they say that there's like 15% of the population is walking around and has no inner dialogue? I couldn't imagine not having my inner dialogue. My inner dialogue is like the favorite thing of life. And imagine the man or woman who does not listen to their inner self gets blown to and fro like the wind all over the world, down that wrong path, down that wrong path, and that's off the path of righteousness. The path of righteousness is hard. The path of righteousness is not for everybody. The path of unrighteousness is wide and easy, and everybody walks that path. Do what's right. Do what's right, and what you know what's right. And that's the thing. When you know yourself, when you know thyself, when you know the inner man, you know the inner woman, you know God, you surrender to God's presence. Like the gospel's saying there, when you're surrendered to God, you don't have to discipline and make yourself live righteously. It happens automatically. I'll give you an example, and this is more of a physical, but it started spiritual. For most of my life, I drank alcohol from, around 18 to 47, say it was 48, that would be 30 years. So we'll say, I haven't drank for a couple years now. So we'll say for 25 years of my life, I drank alcohol. I was never a heavy drinker or an alcoholic. I always drank in moderation. I practiced the discipline of drinking in moderation. But I noticed something the last couple of years while I was drinking. I was like, man, every time I drink, even if it's a couple beers or a couple glasses of wine, I wake up sad the next day. So, I noticed this pattern in myself, and I was like, I'm just going to stop drinking for a month. I do this one. I've done this often where I just stop drinking for a month or 2 months or 3 months even, and kind of reset myself and perform the discipline. And then I say, okay, I'm going to enjoy the pleasures of alcohol again. But this last time, I just stopped drinking, and it took discipline. I'd go to Trader Joe's where they got this great sour beer. I was a big sour beer drinker, and I was like, I'm taking this month off. I'm taking this month off. Then after the first month of not drinking, I felt really good. I felt really good, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's make it 2 months. Let's go another month. And every time I go shopping, I just walk right by the aisle where I'd usually go get my wine or usually go get my beer. And I'd have to, steer the cart away, have to not try and look, what they got for sale? They got a sale, maybe, I've been really good. I can, 2 months went by. I was feeling great. I was feeling amazing. I didn't even, I said, let's go, can I go 3 months? You know what, as a matter of fact, can I go 6 months without alcohol? And all of a sudden, I started realizing I'm going to Trader Joe's. I don't even have to discipline myself and stay out of the alcohol aisles anymore. And I'm not judging nobody who drinks alcohol. I'm just saying this is for me. After 25 years of drinking, I just wanted to stop. I didn't like the way it felt anymore. I literally didn't like the way it felt when I was buzzed or when I was having to, flush my kidneys out and clean my kidneys out and clean my colon out and clean my stomach out and clean my blood out and clean my water body out. All of a sudden, after, I was like, I'm going to go 6 months. And after 6 months, I didn't even want to drink no more. I don't even, it's like eating meat. It's the same way. I just stopped eating meat many years ago. And I just stopped. I don't even have the desire to eat beef or pork or chicken. I don't have the desire at all to drink alcohol. In fact, I take a lot of pleasure in not partaking in that pleasure. I just do. And I'm not judging nobody who does. Like I said, I'm not teaching against that. That's not what I'm teaching here. I'm just saying for me personally, now that I'm almost 50, I just decided to stop drinking 2 years ago, over 2.5 years ago. Now it's 2.5 years ago. Stop drinking. It's been wonderful. It's been, a year and a half ago, my bad. A year and a half ago. Just stopped drinking. And it's been wonderful. It's been great. 18 months of no alcohol. I feel great. My body feels great. I've noticed less wrinkles on my face. I've noticed less gray hair. I've noticed way more energy, way more joy, way more peace. My kidneys feel great. My liver feels amazing. I just stopped. But the point was that at first that temptation was calling. So the first week, I was like, oh man, I haven't had a drink all week. I feel like, this is how I relax and chill and this is how I enjoy a movie here and there. And, nope, let me not buy it this week. And then the next week, I did good. I went a whole week. Then a week. As I stuck to a month. The month went by. I'm going to go 2 months. And then eventually, I didn't even have to discipline myself to stay out of the aisle. I just didn't even want to go into the aisle. And now I don't even want to drink no more. It just doesn't appeal to me any more than beef appeals to me. Like when I smell beef, it smells disgusting. And no, I'm not dissing nobody who eats beef. When I smell beef cooking, it just smells like pure death. It just smells like cooking the dead carcass of an animal. It's so disgusting to me. And I live in Texas, big old neighborhood barbecues. I got to seal the windows and burn some incense when the neighbors are barbecuing because it's just so disgusting, the smelling of it. And I used to be the guy. I used to be the barbecue guy. I used to be flipping big old steaks over, having the homies over. We was drinking beer and eating steaks, right? It was like the greatest. I loved a good steak. To where now, because of discipline, it's not even a temptation for me. And that's what it is across the board for any of us. When we resist the temptation long enough, it doesn't even become a temptation anymore. We don't even want those things that are unhealthy for us. So this is where, to me, discipline, the greatest thing about discipline is it's a process. It's a day-to-day thing. You got to get up and you got to do it. And when you discipline, when the gospel is talking about when we discipline ourselves against those temptations, like anger, let's get out of the physical and get into the spiritual, like anger and acting out of anger. Every time I act out of anger, I feel terrible. My energetic body feels terrible. I made the other person feel terrible. So I have to stop acting angry. Stop acting angry. And when you resist a temptation, You might even feel angry inside, but you resist the temptation. You don't act out on it. That's one step in the right direction. That's one step on the path of righteousness. You do it enough times, you don't even get the feeling of anger anymore. You're not even tempted to anger anymore. You're tempted to righteousness. And then righteousness becomes the path, and then righteousness becomes the pleasure. It's a pleasure to live righteously. It's a pleasure to sleep well and not have a guilty conscience on the mind. It's a pleasure to live like that. It's a pleasure to do the right thing, even when others are saying it's wrong for you to do the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. And people want to say, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. You should be doing this with us and be doing this over here. No. God has told me this is the righteous path I must walk right now. I must walk in this righteousness. I must continue to walk on this righteous path. And if you are walking the righteous path, you will see me. If I am walking a righteous path, I will see the righteous. And if I'm walking a righteous path, I will see the unrighteous. But they will not be able to join us on the path of righteousness with their unrighteous behavior. The unrighteous cannot walk the righteous path. They will fail, they will stumble, and they will trip. And you cannot trip over them. You have to leap over them or avoid them or get out of the way. When you leave, you don't leave with anybody. When we leave this earth, somebody might be, if we're really fortunate, we'll have a loved one with us when we leave. But we leave it alone. When you leave this body, it's just you and God. Not the opinions of others. Not nobody else's ideas of who you should have been and what you should have been doing and where you should have been and where you should not have been. None of those opinions matter. The only thing that matters is you and your God and the life that you lived. So take some empowerment in that. This world is temporary. Our life is temporary. Well, our life is eternal, but this experience in this physical body is temporary. So when we leave this physical body, be walking on the righteous path. And you'll be on the right path leaving. That's the kingdom of heaven. That's where you really want to go, into the realm of the ancestors, into the afterlife. Walking that righteous path. Walking that righteous path. And it's good to listen to righteous music. Listen to that Bob Marley. Listen to some KRS-One. Listen to some positive music that uplifts you. Watch those documentaries that are uplifting and informative. Perform study. Turn off the television, as the gospel of hip-hop suggests. Turn off the radio, as the gospel of hip-hop suggests. Know thyself, hip-hopper. You know, it's 2022, and it's June. And Saturn just went into retrograde. Saturn is the slowest moving of the planets. And Saturn went into retrograde, meaning it's changed its direction and is moving in the opposite direction. From June until October. So June, July, August, September, and October, till the end of October, 5 months. And these 5 months are going to be a testament to people's internal fortitude. A lot is going to be revealed in the next 5 months. As a matter of fact, World War I and II started and happened during a Saturn retrograde. It's the old man, like Saturn's the old man, the old king. Saturn's a great wise teacher. So that energy that is moving backwards right now is going to cause a lot of upheaval in people's lives. It's going to cause arguments and disagreements. And so how do we protect ourselves from that? We walk a righteous path. We walk in our character. Character is king. And we perform discipline. And that's what really sparked this. As I'm not big into astrology. I don't read it all the time. But when it comes to me, I pay attention to anytime God speaks a warning, you should pay attention. And somebody brought that to my attention, Saturn being in retrograde this week. I felt it. I could feel it. Like I could feel the planets. And I do know this with astrology, go within. Every time the planets get wonky, go within is every astrologer's best advice. The top astrologers, when the planets get wonky, go within. So for the next 5 months, put your best foot forward. Work on your craft. Work on your things. Start whatever projects you start, go within. Seek the guidance within. If somebody's dissing you, go within. If somebody's If somebody's throwing shade at you, go within. If somebody's trying to harm you and you can go within, go within. If somebody's trying to get you off your path, go within. If somebody wants to argue, go within. If somebody wants to start a fight, go within. Walk in your spirit of righteousness, especially over these next 5 months, well, your whole life. But watch these next 5 months work to your advantage. Watch how it happens by doing the simple technique of performing discipline, walking in a righteous character. Character is king. Walk on that path for the next 5 months, and you will see that those who didn't walk that path will be way behind, and you will be way ahead. Go forward this week, my nobility, in health, love, awareness, wealth, peace, and prosperity. God loves you so much, and I love you too. And there it is. Hey!